things picking up?
Trying to get everything done, you know.
Cool.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, I love seeing
I
you
have
guys.
one
It's just a stressful day getting everything
perspective.
Oh, should we go for it?
That I think you may
It's three.
be aware
You got everybody but Rob,
Could be.
right?
But everybody but
neighbor.
Rob, yeah.
You're good,
Yeah.
and is everybody
Warfield.
ladies? Hey, we got
of.
Good to
Well,
go?
Warfield.
All right.
Yeah. Could be another one.
You guys
I
ready?
know,
The artist on Bayside.
architect, yeah.
You guys ready? All right. All right, I'm gonna call the meeting to order. Welcome everybody out. First thing on the agenda today is to approve the minutes from, oh, look, there he is. Straggling in. You just missed the call to order. You can still vote to approve the minutes. So moved. All right, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion made and second to approve the minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. All right, Bill Mackey couldn't join us today, so we're gonna go straight to our guest speakers.
Before we do,
Never mind.
I do want to give one announcement on behalf of Bill Mackey. So planning and zoning is really focused on the land use ordinance update and getting that to the county commissioners. So Bill is going to take a little hiatus from the Economic and Tourism Development Commission meetings, but he's going to still come and give us an update quarterly, and probably won't last long, but while they're working through that, just to kind of take some things off of his plate. If anybody wants to follow projects, you know, you can still follow online, with the TAC, agendas that you get sent and the materials there, as well as the planning commission agendas and materials. It's all posted online. So if there's any projects you're particularly interested in, you can always follow it online. But he said also, anybody has any questions, please reach out to him directly. So I did want to share that on his behalf. So
Okay.
thank you.
Cool. All right, now we're gonna go into our speakers, which is Kim and Tara from M&T Bank. Welcome out, you guys.
Thanks for having us. I also forgot to give you some pens and business cards, so I'll put those here and you can
Oh,
pass
boy.
them out when you have time. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Good, thank you. So my name's Kim Montooth. I am a resident of Kent County, and this is Tara Blaine. She's my business banking partner. And so I'm the branch manager of the Kent Island office over in Chester. And so what we wanted to talk to you guys about is how we are trying to expand our kind of footprint into Kent County and get more involved in this community. I am on quite a few boards in Kent County, and so I talk to a lot of people about things going on. And we just really wanted to get more involved in this community. We've been meeting with Jamie and Katie. We've actually started taking on a couple clients, newer businesses from Kent County that we've started working with. And so we're just really excited about that. We just joined the chamber. And so as far as my day-to-day operations, I manage the Kent Island office and the people that work there, and they primarily focus on the personal accounts, whereas I work on small business. So I'm able to meet people in their location, which I also like when they're close to home, so I can sleep in a little bit if I need to meet them. And then Tara is based out of Salisbury, but she works with the larger businesses and does any commercial real estate.
Yep, help
So-
support any of the managers on the upper shore. You want to talk a little bit about the bank, then I'll spin into SBA?
Sure, yeah. So you have 3 flyers here that we just passed out to you. And not to give you like a ton of paperwork, but in today's banking environment, you may know there's some uncertainty within banking. So the first flyer is just a little bit about M&T and kind of how we're structured and our deposit base. So feel free to look through that when you have time. The second one is just really about M&T Bank as a whole. We're really focused on the communities that we work in and want to serve those communities. They encourage all of their staff to be on boards. We also have a really good program where we give back 40 hours of volunteer time per employee that's paid by M&T Bank to give back in the community. So I work with Dick Story at the Betterton Volunteer Fire Company, and I get paid to do their paperwork, but it's part of my work week. So that's really kind of a unique thing that they offer. And then also with nonprofits, we have a grant program where they can apply. So we are focusing on nonprofits quite a bit, especially in this area. We started working with one locally. And so that's really big for M&T, is being involved in the community. So that's our hope for here. We are actually working with a client right now who's planning to start a business in Kent County, and their information, I guess, may be coming across your desk here soon. So it's exciting. And then you want to talk about SBA, our small business?
Yeah, so that's something that I think is a little unique to M&T, where we do a lot of SBA lending, and especially right now, we've been working with a lot of new businesses, kind of trying to help get them up and running. Nationally, we're recognized as a top 10 lender, and have been probably for at least the last 2 decades. And I know in this area, in the Baltimore market and the Delaware market in DC, we're the #1 SBA lender. So we have like a preferred SBA lender through them, which means we don't, for certain deals, we don't even need to go to the SBA for approval for their guarantee. We have an authority to do that. So we have a number of different programs. I'll let Kim talk a little bit more about the Express in just a minute, but we do 7A, we do 504 programs. We'll work with them, I think all the way up to $5 million.
Yeah, so with the Small Business Administration and our kind of, that being our niche, we are really just looking to help people that may not be able to be helped at another institution, especially if they don't have an SBA program. So one thing that we offer right now that's kind of appealing to people is an Express program. So the candidate could apply. Within 2 business days, we would review their application and say yes, they're approved or not. And then within 2 business days after that, their, say, line of credit or installment loan could be booked and they could be using the funds. So within 4 business days, someone who applies for a loan could have access to those funds. That would be under $100,000 or less, and that just only requires an application. It's score-driven and risk-based pricing. But that is something that's really exciting for people, especially if they need access to capital quickly. That's kind of my specialty, is that Express program. I do loans $250,000 and below. So we've had a lot of success in that space, kind of helping people quickly.
And we've really tried to streamline the process for everything over that too. We have a whole SBA team that has been spankers. We work with, like I said, through M&T, so we have all of our ducks in a row before we get to the final end. So it is a much quicker process. Businesses that are doing business acquisitions, startups, some high-risk industries that we might not typically finance, we're having luck going right through the SBA program. We've also expanded it to be a little bit more competitive. We have 2 variable rate options instead of just a standard fix that we usually use.
Yeah. The only other thing that I would just add is that one thing that we are focusing on is just being super competitive in a rising rate environment. So as far as people, if you talk to somebody in your travels, like just being competitive in the deposit relationship space, so CDs and money markets, as I'm sure all banks are right now. I think that's about it. Unless you have any questions for us, we do appreciate the time. And like I said, we're just looking to help people, me specifically in my local community, and just try to give back a little bit.
Kim, we're a government function.
Okay.
Advisory to Kent County government, so we understand acronyms, but what's the difference between SBA 7A and 504?
It's just different programs that the SBA offers. The 504, we usually will sell into like a secondary market. They're backed by the larger loans. Sometimes it's a more complex deal than a 7A. 7A is typically what we'll see, but if it's something we can't get done with the 7A, we'll use the SBA 504 program.
Yeah. I want to say 504, I believe, is above 500,000 with real
that will
estate,
go up to
right?
the 5
Yeah,
million.
so just different tiers of essentially the same product, and a small business administration backed loan.
Different enabling.
Yeah.
Can you give us some some general lending parameters,
Oh, sure.
business lending parameters? I mean, are there types of industries you won't look at
Yeah.
versus those that you do? If you get someone coming in for a larger loan than $500,000, do you normally participate it out with other partners in the lending community?
Yeah.
Are you selling these loans on the secondary market, or are you keeping them on your book?
Yeah.
That kind of information would be.
Yeah, I can answer all of those questions. Yeah, so we do have like target industries that we're interested in, right, that are more strong. There are a few that things that M&T really does not have an appetite for. I would say like investment real estate, like someone who's going to get into flipping houses and things like that. Some of that we don't really have an appetite for. And then as far as like what would be required, so if someone, like I was saying, gets the line for 100,000 or less, we just take an application, strictly score-based. On all of our business loan programs, we're looking for a minimum of 675 credit score to be able to proceed. Sometimes if someone comes in slightly lower, but it's a fully underwritten loan, and I'll explain that, meaning like we collect the full package from them, not just that application program. So they submit tax returns and all that. So if that has a strong story, but their score comes in slightly low, let's say 650 to 675, we may be able to work with them. But what we like to see is the 675. For a loan above 100,000 to 250, we collect an application, 1 year personal tax returns and 1 year business tax returns. If it is a startup, they would also need a business plan and 3 years of projected business financials by month. And then above 250 is what we would call a full package, and that would go through TARA, which would be an application, 2 years business tax returns, 2 years
3 years business.
or 3 years, I'm sorry, 3 years business and personal, personal financial statement. If it's greater than 90 days from the year prior, then they would need, of course, their year-to-date financials as well. And then I think there was the last question that you had that I may have missed.
So
Whether
the
you
selling-
participate out larger loans with partners in order to
Oh, yeah. So
facilitate that.
yeah, so obviously over like 500,000 wouldn't be in my realm of lending, but would be definitely in yours, and we wouldn't need to necessarily bring in any partners. I don't know what your
We
cap
have in
is.
some cases, but that's not typical. Typically, we do keep our loans, with some of the 7As, we will sell those out. We have worked on some of the bigger, more complex deals where we're bringing in other banks and we're doing it collectively, but that's rare.
Do you have a standard business loan term?
Well, just speaking of my type of loan, so for the express process of 100,000 or less, typically we will only finance for 5 years or less, although if it is a vehicle, we'll go 7, because that's just like kind of standard. You know, with vehicles, you can get that at a dealer. But it really just depends if it's going to the SBA, because the SBA does have different terms than we do. So the SBA, you know, can extend by dollar amount, but I would say you know, what I typically do in my wheelhouse is like 5 to 7 years, 10 at most.
And like for commercial mortgage, it's really, each deal is unique. Typically, we don't like to go out more than 20 years. We've gone up to 25. You can, you know, sometimes we'll lock you in at 5, we'll lock you in at 10 if you're financing equipment, you know, what's the useful life of the equipment. So there's not like and nothing is really set in stone. Each deal is going to be unique, and we're going to look at that and consider that. Like we were saying with the SBA, if we were looking to go out more than 5 years, that's where like an express SBA, maybe like a smaller deal, if the useful life is 10, there's an advantage. We could take it from the SBA because we can push it out more than like the typical 5 years that we would do for equipment.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So the SBA express loans,
Yeah.
is that something that you also have to get SBA underwriting for, or is it?
Yeah, so we actually have our own SBA analysts that work in-house. So they pretty much are just a liaison between us and the SBA. So for an express, say for example, and we just did one for someone here locally. So it would be the 2 kind of business days that they get an approval, yes or no. So after that second business day, it says, yes, M&T is interested, contingent upon an SBA guarantee. Then the SBA analyst has 2 business days to review and formulate paperwork for that person to fill out. Then we're kind of at the mercy of that person to get that paperwork back to them, but then they have 2 business days to review it, submit it to the SBA, and then typically, so with that process, it draws it out, I would say, like by, I would say, 6 to 8 business days, but then usually they can have financing. But yes, we have specialists. They don't work for the SBA, but they're a liaison, and they report directly to the SBA.
The preferred lender program comes into play, where we don't have to go out and be at the mercy of waiting for the SBA to get to our application. We have people in-house that have the authority to give us the SBA guarantee.
What's the usual turn time for 7A?
For approval, I would say 2 weeks, but from application,
Probably.
especially if there's real estate involved, could be 1 to 2 months.
Yeah. Approval can come quickly once we get the packets together. It will go through our channels for approval, like she said.
Yeah.
We'll have that, within a week or 2, but probably closer to 1 to 2 months before we would actually settle, depending on the deal again.
There's a lot of things. I'm Rob Thompson with Chesapeake Bank, so
Yeah.
I know a little of the banking side, and 7A is something that, is a gap, I think, in the community that.
Absolutely.
That's for, we do some 504, I think some of the other community banks do, but 7A is kind of out of our realm, so, but there's certainly some times where that's needed for some
We could
of
forward
those
you some
communities.
information specific to the
Okay.
7A loan, so you have that, if that's kind of a gap that you guys are dealing with.
We find that actually one of our largest referral sources is from smaller local banks that have a client that they really want to help and they feel good about their business, but the loan project or whatever they're doing maybe doesn't fit into like their realm of what they're able to do, and then they refer it to us and we're able to help them, and then we kind of share the client, which is cool. We're working on something like that that was referred to us recently from Shore United Bank, so.
Kimber, you mentioned trying to grow more of a presence in Kent County.
Yeah.
Is that looking more like a physical presence here, or is that just working with more clients in Kent County area?
I would say in every way. I just thinking about for you specifically, like I just recently did a financial literacy class at the Chestertown Christian Academy, and we were able to give like just drawstring backpacks to each of the kids and like a little notebook, and they liked it. So we had a PowerPoint. They got a little workbook where they could answer questions. They liked it so much that they'd ask us to come back and do a couple more sessions there. So yeah, I think in any aspect that we can get involved, we'd be happy to help if you have something in mind. And if we're not able to do that, we'll tell you too. But we're happy to get involved any way we can.
Spend more time.
Yeah.
And then aside from M&T Bank, I also have been involved with Big Brothers Big Sisters and serve on their board for the last 5 or 6 years. And Kent County, Upper Shore in general, is where we're trying to make more of a presence and get the word out more. With headquarters located in Salisbury, we have a lot of children, and most of the mentors are coming from the lower shore, and there's a greater need up here. So, from that aspect too, from my nonprofit hat, we're trying to expand here too.
Thank you.
Your literature mentions that a couple of places you're among the top 15 banks in the country, with some on the higher rungs disappearing. How are you different from Signature Bank, and should we be worried about M&T?
Yeah, so that is all here in this
It's all spelled
first
out.
flyer, Mr.
Read the
Story.
homework.
I would love to say that I'm an expert in talking about like our diversified deposit base, but I'm not, even though I've been talking to a lot of people about it here recently. But what I will just say is from the time that I have been with M&T Bank, they're a super conservative bank. Like I know I just told you all this about how we like can flip money over real fast for people, right? But they are a conservative bank, and I would say at times, sometimes I find it even difficult to get things done that I think make sense. But for us, we're really also traditional. We're not interested in a lot of like crypto or any techie type of
Any-
stuff coming out. We're not into that. We're not investing in that. So just say that strong deposit base. Another just kind of interesting fact that I kind of clung on to is that with Silicon Valley Bank, 90% of their deposit base had more than 250,000 on deposit, which is what is the FDIC insured, whereas 90% of our deposit base is under 250,000 in their accounts.
What's your total asset under management?
Let's see, 201 billion it says.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you guys so much for coming out and talking to us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us, and if it's okay, we'll excuse ourselves now.
Sure.
Thank you.
All right, next we're going into staff reports. Shalyn, you want to go first?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Let me try and figure out this chair situation first. Okay, so, last month, Jamie and I attended the monthly MDMO meeting, which was hosted by Queen Anne's County at the new Hilton down in Kent Island, which was really nice. Maryland Destination Marketing Organization. So it was a representative from every county in the state. They come for a monthly meeting, and there's food and open discussion. There was 2 presenters that were there. I won Ravens tickets. So just shout out me for trivia game, won me Ravens tickets. But the exciting thing is Kent County has never hosted it as far as we know. So we volunteered to host it in June. So in June, place to be determined, we're gonna have a representative from every county in the state come here, spend the day, ideally in Chestertown is our thought. Meetings from 9:30 to 2, and then we're gonna follow it up with hopefully like a walking tour, around Chestertown with the group. The other really exciting thing that happened this past month was it was kind of a last minute ask from the State Office of Tourism. They called a PR specialist with the Office of Tourism called and said, we have 3 very prominent Canadian writers that are flying in like 4 days. And they want to spend an afternoon and an overnight in Kent County. So what can we have them do? So Jamie and I and Rose, we worked together and we hosted them at Stam's for lunch when they arrived. They loved the Cat Colloquium, which is above Stam's. That was the big hit. We took them down for a tour. Miss Airlie gave them a tour of the Custom House down at the end of High Street. And from there, they went on a sail with Suzanne for Chesapeake Blue Crab Charter. We got them a stay at the Sunset Lodge down on Eastern Neck Island. And then we hosted them at dinner at Blue Heron Oyster House. And then after that, I actually took them to Bayside Market for Old Bay and Little Debbie snacks, because apparently you can't get Little Debbie in Canada. And then the next morning when they were leaving, they wanted to try Scrapple. They just kept asking about Scrapple. So they went to Rock City Cafe and everyone had Scrapple, loved Scrapple, apparently. They texted me, loved it. So from there, they're gonna be, the one lady, Liz, is a podcaster, travel podcaster. There was a gentleman named Mackenzie. He writes for he explained it to me, it's like the equivalent of the Baltimore Sun. And then there was another lady named Mary who writes for the Montreal Times. So they're pretty big writers. And then another thing, Rose has spent the last month, once a week or so, delivering all of our literature to all the businesses, marinas, lodging, all over the county, just to have everybody stocked up for the upcoming summer season. That's all I got.
All right.
I will say thanks to the collaboration with Rose and Shalyn, we were also able to get some other things like delivered to them at the lodge. So there were, there was Crow wine there. There was something from Sweet Cheeks and Fresh Start in Rock Hall. So just, trying to expose them to other things, that not necessarily we didn't have time to take them there because we had a short window, but just expose them to other things. So it was really good. And I could say what Shalyn did is when she got the request, she did like all the bios like sending it to me, like, here's who these people are, like, I researched them and found out what they did, and, you know, and then that's how we decided that, yeah, this is something that we could really take advantage of for the county. And they took a lot of photos and stuff downtown, and I'm sure they did at their lodge, which I did not get to see, which I would love to go see at some point. But our partners were also, like, some people discounted, some people gave us stuff, some people, you know, so I, you know, I don't want to call anyone out, you know, in a public meeting, but, you know, there was a lot of collaboration from our partners as well. So the county didn't, you know, foot the bill for everything. The state had a part in it, the county had a part in it, and then our partners had a part in making this successful as well, so.
All right, thank you. Do we have anybody online or anything?
We don't, so I can, so I just want to share a couple things with you guys real quick. Katie is, Katie might be online, but she might have dropped off as well. Her fiance's brother is going through something right now, so keep her in your prayers. So she is dealing with that family issue. So she is working 3 or 4 hours in the morning and then taking care of family in the afternoon for a little bit. And the things that she wanted me to make sure you guys were aware of, all of the Upper Shore Micro Ag Grant applicants have been advised if they were awarded or not. And they're working on returning their grant agreements. And then that's a reimbursable grant. So after they spend the money, then they turn in all their paperwork, and that's when they get their grant money. So all of that is in process. She's also been working on the Upper Shore Regional Council Business Mentoring Program. If you remember a while back, our SCORE chapter disbanded, but our mentors still want to be very active in the community. So we've got a page already on our website, and we are continuing to redefine that and make it better. And we work with Zane Carter and Ann Forrest, who are both very active SCORE members, to get the agreements right, get the intake form correct, get the website the way that it needed to look for entrepreneurs or new business startups. So Katie's continuing to work on that as well. So any questions about Katie's stuff before I move past that? Okay. Dawson has an eye infection, so he's dealing with that today as well. So a couple of things. One of the things Dawson mentioned earlier, and I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget, you know, as commission members, you know, we need you guys to be ambassadors for economic and tourism development within the county. So anything you can do to help us promote things that we're sharing on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. You know, if we can share some of those things, obviously you're not going to share everything, but it's something of particular interest, you know, that you would share out there. It just helps us get the message out. What we're looking to do is do more informational things, especially when it comes to affordable housing and transportation services, because DCT presented last week, and I think it was 49% of people didn't even know that DCT did provide public transportation. So how do we get the word out more? So just kind of spreading those messages of awareness. So Dawson continues to work with DCT, and obviously marketing was a big part of that. He meets with them monthly, and he's continuing to work on the seasonal shuttle to get that up and running. The launch date is scheduled for May 26th. And he continues to work on affordable housing. So focused on those projects where there's multiple units and or multi-family housing. So those type of projects, just trying to kind of track them and see if there is any way for us to assist with that process. So that's what I have for Dawson. And I don't have anything unless you guys have any questions about anything up to this point.
All right, thank you. Okay, now we're going into unfinished business, and we need to talk about our positions that we have open on the commission. And I just want to remind everybody before we get started that if there's any discussion, we can't mention anybody's name in open session, so please keep names out of the discussion.
Or their
But,
salaries.
or their salaries. And Dick and Rose and I interviewed 3 candidates, and I think everybody's received the comments that we had about the 3. So if you have any questions for us, let us know, but otherwise I'll entertain motions for both of those recommendations to go to the commissioners.
So should we do them separately? or-
I would do them separately.
Okay.
Yeah, so the first one would be to fill Rob's term. So I'll entertain a motion for that.
Hanging in there for this.
Certainly.
So
Mhm.
we got to this point. Thank you, Rob.
You're not free yet.
Couple more minutes.
Making the motion would be
Yes, I
interesting.
will make the motion.
All right,
My replacement.
all right, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded for the recommendation to fill Rob's term. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. Motion carried. All right, next one is that Tracy is retiring, so,
And we're all jealous.
yes. So congratulations on that. So that opened up another position, and we submitted our recommendation for that as well, so I'll entertain a motion for that one too.
I'll make a motion for that one.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. All right, so those will go to the commissioners, and it's their final say on if they get accepted or not. Now we go to new business, and so let's start with the letter of support for WAC. And Jamie, if you have some info you can give us on that.
So, a group has been meeting, David Foster's part of that group as well, so glad you're here, David. Washington College, there's lots of partners, and I'm sure I'm gonna forget somebody, so I'm not gonna name them all. But a group has been meeting, talking about, a makerspace business incubator at the 800 High Street property that was gifted to them by Dixon. So, this program through TEDCO is to do a study. So this is to support their application to do that study. So a couple things that we're still gonna do as a group, in addition to the study, is visit the space that they have the vision, where they have this vision on 800 High Street property, and also visit the current Chestertown Hot Desk and see what we have set up there and how that works. And then, of course, do this study and figure out how we can integrate all of those. You know, we all know from reading about makerspaces and studies and incubators and co-working spaces, they're most successful if you can get the community, students, business people, all colliding together. And that's the goal of all of this. Being in a rural area, it's a little more challenging, but that's what the study will do. It will kind of give us, like, this will work, but maybe rethink this, that type of thing. So we're asking for a letter of support for Washington College's application for the study through TEDCO.
Who would be completing the study or
That would have to,
adding the study?
that would go through Washington College since they're applying for the grant. So it would have to follow whatever procurement process they have. So, and they would determine who would do the study. That would be a Washington College process.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
I will add, I'm sorry,
Mm.
Aaron, OpenWorks from Baltimore, you know, very successful makerspace. They are partnering with TEDCO to offer technical assistance. So I know they'll be part of the entire process, from the studies to actually implementation as well. Because obviously if the study proves that this is something that could be viable in Chestertown, then we move to implementation, and we would, the county and or Washington College, or the town, or a collaboration of all three, would apply to make it a reality. So,
Are all the WAC members in support of completing the study?
absolutely, yes, yes. And they, you know, part of the letter, that was forwarded, I believe, had a draft of what they proposed. But again, that's just a starting point. That's all subject to change. And if I didn't send that out, Paula, I'll have to check, but it was in Dr. Harvey's letter to us to request the letter of support.
So if there's no further discussion, I'll entertain a motion for that letter of support.
So move.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. We'll send that letter of support off. And now the next one is a letter of support for Rock Hall for changes to the Marine District. Kimmy, you wanna?
So, Bruce has already drafted a draft letter, but she had a question, and I kind of said, that's a great question. So I reached out to Cindy Genther, who is also part of that and been keeping up with that for the Greater Rock Hall Business Association, to find out what that meant by combining the marine districts. So currently, there's 3 marine-related zoning districts. There's marine recreation, marine commercial, and then maritime water dependent. So with the change, there's going to only be 2 marine zoning districts. The proposed marine district would replace maritime water dependent. The marine commercial district would become marine recreation. All of the current marine recreation district would remain in that zoning. So some of the properties that's currently zoned R1, behind the marine district, basically up to Bayside Avenue, would become marine recreation. So Chris Jakubiak, who is their planning administrator, this would allow marinas in the harbor area to expand in the future. So, I think that's it. Yeah, so they're looking for a letter of support, for that zoning district for Rock Hall.
This was something that, so my understanding of it, just from today,
Thank you.
is that some of the changes are similar to things that I have went and talked to Bill about for the county's marine district. 'Cause it's important stuff how the industry's changing, how you need a lot of ancillary uses. It's not just about slips. You need a lot of ancillary uses to go with your marina and everything. And so it's something that's very important for the industry, and I'm really, I can't vote, but I'm really in support of this.
What do you mean by ancillary?
So like lodging, food and beverage, all that kind of stuff
Okay.
that isn't traditional permitted uses in the zone.
Okay.
That really should be,
Right.
because you really need that. So if you want to be a destination for people, you need that stuff.
And this isn't for Tallchester Marina, because obviously they're not in the town of Rock Hall, but he's right, the uses have changed. And, in Kent County, we only have 1 marine.
Yes,
zoning
we have
code.
one, yeah, one.
So, that's, Rose and I were questioning, are we trying to get it down to 1, or, what are we trying to do? So it would align better with the county code, at least getting it down to 2 than it did previously. So that's another thing, trying to make things a little more level, so that people don't have to understand 6 different zoning codes. We have 5 towns, and then 5 municipalities and the county. So how can we make things more, consistent across the board? There's the word.
Standard.
consistent.
And fair for every business
Correct.
in the same industry.
Correct.
What is the one marina we have?
It's marine.
Marine
Yeah.
zoning, we just have, the county has a
But not
single marine
specific
zone.
marina.
Right. So like I fall under the county's marine zone.
Rock Hall's just gone through its, have they completed their comprehensive plan?
That's part of this.
That's part of
This
this.
is part of the recommendation.
I'm sort of struggling to figure out what the difference between the 2 zones is in terms of permitted uses or some other
Well,
way of defining that.
currently, a good example is currently, if a restaurant is shut down for a period of time and it's zoned marine dependent, I think is what that word was, then they could, by rights, if they were shut down a certain amount of time, they could not open back up.
It would be, it's a grandfathered use now
Yeah.
and would be non-compliant after
Correct.
a certain amount of time.
Well, if they're redoing their comprehensive plan, are they also redoing their zoning? As
That
a part-
comes-
Well, that's part of this, but I mean in terms of permitted uses, like,
I see what you're saying.
the county's going through this process of redefining permitted uses per zone. Are they doing the same thing in Rock Hall with respect to these two zones that they're proposing, like consolidating existing permitted uses among the three? Do we know any of that?
The way I understand it is they have finished the comp plan, and this is the land use ordinance, because it's the actual zoning districts that they're getting into. And then after that, the next step is similar to what the county does, is it'll have to be drafted and voted on by the mayor and council. And then they'll look at different requests for changing zoning. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I think
so
that in there, it says something like the rest, like the food and beverage specifically, will now be a permitted use in one of the new
Got it.
zones.
But
Yeah.
our letter of support, what exactly are we saying?
I can send that out so that everybody can look at it, but that we do, thank you, Dick, they printed it out. for me. Thank you.
Okay.
I was gonna say, that's the only thing I forgot to print before it came down.
Aren't we basically saying that we
That we
agree from
support,
moving from
yeah.
3
Yeah,
down to 2?
yeah, consolidating and
Yep.
making
Is
sure
there
those
any
uses are
local
permitted.
Districts that's going to be essentially downzoned by that change, or?
Not that I'm aware of. Now, the Greater Rock Hall Business Association, they are asking that it be expanded, to expand the commercial uses in the marine districts. But we're not, I don't think, in the letter, we're just supporting combining it to two.
There's no specifics on that yet,
Correct, we
anyway,
don't
right?
have
Yeah.
that.
But our letter also says we're supporting permitted use for restaurants, lodging, and retail operations.
Yes, and that is part of the original legislation, or the original request. Yes. So maritime water dependent would become marine commercial, which then would allow.
Which
those
that
types of-
would be closer to what the county's marine
Correct.
zone is.
I think that water dependent has been a sticking point for a long time. Like you've got a reef company down there that really doesn't, oh, it's not there anymore, okay. We had a reef company down there.
Well, and I think part of it was that her husband was supposed to.
They did the bait and,
they
yeah.
were-
to
Well,
make
they
it-
were supposed to also, I think he was supposed to be serving, I don't know, oysters or something like that, and that didn't materialize.
Okay,
And
gotcha.
I don't know that they were doing bait.
And they're not there now?
They closed, yeah. And part of it, that property though, was very kind of tricky, you know, I mean, it was, prior to the reef company, it had been, two different,
Like gift shops, right?
well, they had gifts, but they also sold bait and they sold fishing supplies and, you know, whatever it would take, I forgot the names of both of
Beer
them.
and wine there at some point?
Yeah, well, I think both,
Okay.
at least two, if not three of them. The wreath, that when she was in there, she got a liquor license. And I thought Waterman's was in that area
They
too,
are.
that was grandfather, that if they hadn't opened up, because it sold, in October, and they had to open by, I think it was May 1, which they didn't, but anyway, so. But it's all very tricky
We
in that
understand
area.
that that's close.
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe doing like a soft this
Yeah.
weekend, not advertising or anything. And then they'll go from there to make their
Yeah.
decision. So,
But that must have been a lot of pressure, you know. for them.
yes, definitely a lot of pressure.
Because some of the things were kind of out of their control in terms of getting things done in order for them to reopen, and
Yeah.
so, yeah.
Are we okay with the letter as written, or do we need to tweak it some? If there's any, I'll send it out and let you guys at least have a couple days before.
I think you have sent it out, because
Okay.
I've got
Yeah,
it.
Got it?
I-
can send
yeah, I
it out.
read it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the only thing,
Print it.
if we are mixed in our vote, it says we voted unanimously.
We'll have to change that, okay.
And you got your question answered? Okay.
That was a great question, so.
So,
Good question, I'll have to ask.
motion to approve?
Move that we provide the letter of support.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Letter doesn't have to be changed.
Yeah.
Motion carried.
Unanimous.
All right.
That's taken care of.
Thank you, guys. All right. And that's all the business for today. So do we have any public comments or announcements before we move on? Mayor Foster?
First, I really want to thank you for sending or agreeing to send a letter of support for the TEDCO study to support the makerspace or business incubator for Washington College. As Jamie mentioned, we both went up to Baltimore, saw this terrific place. I was really envious of that. It provides space and equipment for, sort of say, young entrepreneurs, like people of any age there, either manufacturing a product or designing a product. As I understand it, for the one at Washington College, it would include not only that physical aspect of it, but also technical advice, often from some of the college professors. They could become case studies for students there in the business school, and a variety of things. I just think it's a great idea for that project. Chestertown Town Council also sent a very similar letter of support, and we appreciate your doing that. The reason I came, many of you may recall that last fall, I spoke to this group about our proposed study for a tax differential or tax set-off. And I'd say about 3/4 of the counties in Maryland have something similar to that, and well over 100 cities or municipalities have done studies similar to what we're doing. And I was very pleased that 2 of our current county commissioners last fall during the election said that they would support a study of this type. And then this year, at Commissioner Price's suggestion, I went out to find a consultant for that. I went to the University of Maryland, found a professor there who's very familiar with municipal finance and with the issue of tax set-offs in Maryland. He submitted a proposal. Then we got a request from the commissioners to get a second bid for that, which we did. And then I guess Friday, a week ago, got a note from Ms. Heller saying, well, they would really like a third bid on that, as well as an update on each of the towns that were interested in this. And it turns out that for a long while, I think under the last 4 mayors, Chestertown has been interested in this, but what's new this year is 3 additional municipalities in Kent County have also expressed their interest. So that was the status as of over a week ago. And unfortunately, and of course we all know that the county is really faced with preparing for Kerwin and the blueprint and all of that. And they decided they really just did not have the money to assist with this effort. And we were disappointed in that, not only because of hoping to have some funding, but also, as we all know, when you put money into a project, you really have skin in the game and you're interested in that. Nonetheless, last night, the Chestertown Town Council agreed in our process to set aside money in our budget that we would do this. And we hope that even though the county doesn't have money in it, that they will still be full partners in this process as we go forward. And the study would be conducted this fall by a professor from the University of Maryland. There is some possibility, if we can get other counties in the process, perhaps Caroline County, some others on the Eastern Shore, that this would not just be an activity by this one professor in his spare time. They are allowed a certain amount of private consulting, but it would also become a project of the University of Maryland. And we're hoping that will happen, but that's not sure yet. But that's something that we're looking at. But at any rate, this is scheduled to go forward this fall, and I will continue to keep you all updated on that. And I hope really any suggestions you have in the process go forward, and we'll see. One of the things that's come out as we've discussed this, and as many of you know, my own background is in environmental science, engineering. And you often can come into a community and there's a big debate whether the water's polluted or it's not, the land's polluted or not. Everybody has their own opinion. It's only when you sit down and monitor the soil and the water and the air that you get some facts on the table. And that's what we're hoping to do here. Everybody's got an opinion about the tax issues and tax equity, but there are very few facts on it. There are also a lot of misunderstandings. One is that it's, oh, this is very new. It's so new. Gosh, never thought about that before. It's been around for 40 years, most counties. There was also a misunderstanding that the only people in Kent County who were interested in this were those who lived on Water Street and Queen Street. I don't live on either of those. Neither have any of the past 3 mayors before me. I take that back. Mayor Horsey for a while lived on Queen Street, then he moved to Byford Court. And not to mention that the mayor in Galena and Rock Hall and Mellington are also very interested. So at any rate, a lot of misunderstandings, but I think this is a chance, and I think it's particularly important. We all know, we don't like to know it, but we all know that taxes are probably going to go up with Kerwin. I've been around the water enough to know that, boy, if a storm's coming, one of the first things you want to do is tie down your boats, get them to a safe place, make sure the foundation is ready, all of this. That's what I think we need to do here in preparation for that tax increase. Make sure that we've got a level playing field beforehand, make sure that everybody's being treated fairly, and then we can all pull together to do whatever we need to comply with that. So anyway, I thank you. And if there are any questions, happy to take those, but I'll be sure to try to keep you posted as we move forward.
Great, thank you for that update.
Dave, I have a question.
Sure.
Are the towns that are interested
Mm-hmm.
in this and have expressed that interest to you, are they prepared to help fund the study?
They were, all 3 of those were prepared to fund half of it, as was Chestertown. We'll have to see whether they're prepared to go it alone as Chestertown is. I don't know. I do know that both the current mayor and the, I'm trying to say mayor-elect, James Cook, who is the only one running for mayor there, both of those are fully supportive of it. The cost is not, I don't remember exactly how much, but it's probably would be under $2,000 for them even then. For Galena and Millington, $400 if the county chipped in half, $800 if without. So I'm not going to speak for them. They'll have to decide. But I will say that there is interest well beyond Water Street and Queen Street.
When would you expect the study to be completed?
Study, the plan would be to start it this fall. I had originally hoped to be able to do it this summer, but the professors are already booked up with that, and a commitment that it would be completed before February. They do get a January break again, and that would be completed, so it would be plenty of time. And even though the commissioners had agreed to support the study, they never committed to abide by it. There was no commitment ever. I'm not wanting to put words in their mouth. Only to support. It's saying, hey, let's do the analysis on the oil spill. Let's see what the facts are. That was the agreement. But I'm not prejudging either the findings of the study or the reactions of the people who would read it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, well, our next meeting is on June 14th. And with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carried. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody. It wasn't quick one. That wasn't bad at all.
House you listed